Welcome to Heart, our chat with the cast and crew of When Calls the Heart. I'm Christy, and I'm an admin from Michigan, and I'm joined today by
Jen Young from Seattle, Washington.
Forgive me, Jen. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Marg Stark from San Diego, California.
And we are obviously so excited and happy to have our guests with us today, two actors who have brought so much talent to Hope Valley, Viv Leacock and Natasha Burnett.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Yes, happy to be here.
I'm glad to have you.
We're glad to have you. It's your second season on the show. So aside from some slight lifting of COVID protocols, how was this season different for you guys?
I think, it just felt like us going back to our second home again this time for sure, because not only was it the cast and crew that we obviously knew so much better than last year, it was also knowing that the Hearties were so supportive of everything that we had done so far. And so, filming all the storylines and things, I think we were both more at ease with everything and just really comfortable knowing that as a whole, everybody was really close and everybody was happy with what we were doing. And it's a really nice feeling.
Yeah. And for me with the kids, it was really cool because first season, it was a crash course in everything. Just the jargon on set, they didn't know any of it. So there was a lot of kind of hand holding and there was a lot of, I was worried about, oh God, are they going to do this right? Are they going to do that right? And they were so much more relaxed in this season. So I was so much more relaxed. It was like, it was a big adjustment. Just, I've been an actor on set, for 20 plus years by myself, especially not with two of my three kids, hanging out with me. So, but I say, thank God for this one. Cause, oh man, she got me through it. Cause I was like, I can't do it. I'm going to die. And she's like, no, you can do it.
That is a lot,
Yeah.
to focus on your own role and then on being a dad too. That's a lot. Yeah.
It definitely was something new. But like Natasha was saying, going back, yes, the COVID protocols were still kind of, they were a little more relaxed, but still there. It was a lot easier this year. And the kids really made good friends with the other kids on set. So that's been really cool.
So that put your mind at ease, right? Because then every time the kids because there were more days where the kids were doing scenes with the other kids and it wasn't always family stuff. Right. And so he definitely felt much calmer knowing that they were happier and felt way more comfortable. And so he would calm down.
Yeah, it was good.
Did you know when you were cast that you were going to be in that pastor role? Hearties wanted that for a very long time, so that was a big deal.
Initially, I kind of saw that in the script that I saw before I had any type of discussion with anybody. I could I saw that he was a spiritual man. But as soon as I actually officially got the part, John Tinker, who was the showrunner of the show, he was saying, and he still wasn't definitively saying you're going to be the pastor, but he was like, I think we're going in that direction, and so we started getting about what kind of pastor Joseph was going to be, because Joseph is very handy. He's about town, fixing things and running around, doing that type of stuff, and he wasn't going to be someone who was just like in the church, like the only place you'd ever see. A pastor sometimes on other shows, he's at church. That's it. But we crafted it and put it together. And I based Joseph off of three men in my life. My one uncle who's like very, 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 very religious, very, very spiritual man. My father, who can build anything, do anything with his hands, and another uncle of mine who's like just the kindest person I've ever known. He's just Yeah, so there's like 3 different people that make up Joseph. It's pretty cool.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, you definitely wear a lot of hats in Hope Valley. Got a lot of things that you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, and it's clear too that Minnie is involved in the ministry too. So the whole family kind of carries the mantle, as of course would be traditional in that time.
Yes, so. And I love that it is a family affair because, like you said, it's very true to the time and true to a family that, it's not only the husband that's doing the job as the pastor, it's the support from the wife and also just there to keep the family going and, share in that spiritual joy and with the children and get them involved as well. So it's great that it's become a family affair. It's really nice.
Nice. So we polled the Hearties for their questions, so we're going to get into some of those. Pamela Smith from Drexel, North Carolina asked, is Joseph going to get involved helping stop the trouble that's coming to Hope Valley? Because on Sunday's episode, we saw you chasing down some bad guys.
Yes.
And it left us hanging. So.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Yeah. Joseph will get involved in, kind of being counsel to those. There's some other folks that are involved a little more directly. So yeah, it's just a thing where it keeps everybody on track. He always, the Canfield family, Minnie and Joseph, they know what's going on in the town, and they just, they're there to listen, and they just directly, gently, redirect, guide
them.
Yes, and hopefully Joseph doesn't have to sprint after any more people, because I felt that for about a week.
Yeah, we saw on Twitter that you forgot to stretch beforehand.
I can't, those pants, everything about that situation. I used to run in track and field. Everything about that situation was not ideal. The gravel on the ground, the shoes on the pants, nothing was good. But yeah, it all turned out all right.
A week later, it turned out all right.
A week later. Exactly. It was great.
Okay, so Donna Miller of Ontario wants to know if you have a backstory in mind for how Minnie and Joseph met.
Yes, she does.
Wait, is this a movie?
Maybe.
Spinoff movie. I can see it now.
Yeah.
Right?
It's good.
I mean, like,
really good.
It would be so cool. I mean, the fact that, the church has to be involved.
Of course.
There's got, the meeting of minds, the meeting of religious beliefs, and a young Minnie and Joseph being courted by Joseph.
Yes.
Are you writers? Can you write it?
This one could
be a great story.
Oh,
very intelligent. Yeah, no, we could do that. Definitely.
I like it. I mean, I know, Pascal and Kevin got into, wrote a film. Didn't they write the film for themselves and it got made in Hawaii?
Yeah.
Yes,
so
that's right.
Take it on the road. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Pick an exotic locale where there's a church.
Yes. Joseph and Minnie met in Hawaii. Let's
yes.
It works for me. I think it works. I think so. Rome, wherever you want to go. Florence, anywhere. Love it. So one of the things that I'm really loving and that seems very true to life to me is how Minnie and Joseph are handling Cooper's struggle this season and how they don't necessarily always agree on the right tactics. I really love that. Does that speak to you as well?
Yeah. There is, I'll tell you a little story. So when Vienna was born, our OBGYN was telling us that the lineage of the chances of what you're going to have, boy or girl, is dictated by the father's side. So through my father is one of 6 kids, and he's the only boy. And then he got married before he met my mother. He was in a previous relationship and had 4 girls. So I'm thinking I'm going to carry that on. I'm going to probably have more girls if this. So we had Vienna. And for me, as a man walking in this world, growing up in the times I've come through, there's a fear attached to bringing another boy who turns into a man into this world where so many things can go wrong. It seems like, not to say that, walking through this world as a woman is going to be easier, just seems there was more violence attached to perhaps young men. So I was worried about it. But we had Vienna, and my expectation was that we were going to continue to have girls. And then we had 2 boys. And so I'll never forget the feeling I had when I saw my second child, which is Lennox, who you guys have not seen, is Elias's older brother and Vienna's younger brother. And the feeling I had when I saw him, it was just, I was filled up with something different. And all those fears went away. But they are a true fact of what I have to face, what my kids have to face. And my wife and I, we've had many discussions with the kids, about what to expect and what this life might be like, and what this life was like for their grandfather, for me, for their uncle. Like, it's different for every generation, but very similar. And it's so true to life. Everything that's going on with Cooper, and Cooper's angry because, like I wrote on Instagram, ironically, in a place where he can experience good people, a great community around him, it makes him kind of wonder, well, wait a minute, if these people are so nice, why were the other people not so nice? Mm-hmm. And those questions come, and it's like, you see how it could work, you see how it could be, and it could make you angry because it wasn't always like that. And the questions as to why, and it's beyond your control. And so you can end up being very angry, and it can take you over. And that's the unfortunate thing, is where a good person, can be overtaken by their hate, by their frustration. And that's the biggest tragedy of all for me, if you ever see that happen. And I've seen it happen. And so for us to get to play that storyline, it really hit home, because it was real. I'm not acting when I'm saying any of those things that I'm saying to, when Joseph's talking to Cooper, that is Viv talking to Elias. That is the deal. So,
yeah, you wrote
sort of like, for me, not knowing how do you pass this over to your husband to deal with, right? How do you try and deal with it? These feelings of anger that Minnie, she's just a very different type of person, and just trying to work out how best to deal with a situation like that, right? And who talks to them first,
right? And
how do you try, and do you go the hard approach? Do you try a soft approach?
Right.
And I think it's just juggling, so much juggling. And no, you're not going to agree, because every method is different, and nobody ever knows the answer. That's the problem as a parent. You never know the answer.
No. And what Cooper expects of Joseph is supposed to protect the family. This is why he said, well, at least I'm doing something. That was directed at Joseph.
Ooh,
that was directed right at him, because when he's thinking back, he's like, why is my sister blind? Why did that happen? Why didn't you do anything? Why didn't you stop that, Dad? Like, this is what is happening.
Got it. Okay, because he was really into it when, he was like, wanted Henry to throw that punch. And we've seen that with him,
Yes,
that he's
yes.
very excited about you
Yes.
going after the bad guy. He
Yes.
wants to see you in that role.
Yes.
Okay.
He wants me to do something.
Yeah.
And
Well, you guys tell us a little bit about how the collaboration that's led to this storyline. You wrote about it so beautifully on your Instagram, and I think Hearties have been blown away by the layers, the nuance, the poignancy of that chapel scene in particular is just so well acted, but I think also well written and probably well directed. I don't understand how all that happens, but maybe you could shed some light on some of the considerations and the collaboration that so you got it right. So how did it get to that?
You know, we tend to have a lot of discussions with John and the directors for every single episode, for the purposes like of that chapel scene, because like you said, it's so nuanced and there's so many layers, and every word that we say is so loaded. And it's also trying to keep almost like the composure, even in that chapel scene, and you're feeling so much and you don't know what to do with that amount of emotion. Angela never asked. She never asked about it.
No.
Yeah. And maybe I went through life thinking she never would. And well, actually, it never crossed Minnie's mind. Why didn't it cross our mind? We never spoke about this, you know.
She didn't ask the question.
And everything is so loaded that I almost feel like you almost can't act it, because there's so much going on and so much that you're feeling and thinking. And all of that we would express to John and the writers, just to make sure that everything that we do is so true to life. And the Hearties have been so great with letting us know that they can relate to it, which is really, really means a lot to us.
It does. There was a responsibility that Natasha and I have talked about from day one, from very first meeting between the two of us. It was, you want to do this right. And it really became a thing about, like, I'm glad we got the part, because talking to each other about the responsibility of doing this, it wasn't just like, oh, two actors got a part and we're like, oh, right, hooray. That's not what's happening. This is we have to ensure that the people that came before us are getting some recognition about how gracious they were going through the hardest times. Anytime you talk about the best times, you have to talk about now, because it's, there can't be attached to any time before. It was hard. It was always harder before. And we talked a lot about getting it right, doing it right. And there's, to Hallmark's credit, to the writer's credit, the director's credit, they really follow our lead a lot of times when we say, that's not correct, or we're going to change this.
They've fully embraced our whole storyline. They're so willing to discuss it, so willing to listen, and to know that we can still tell this story, it is so meaningful to us, and to know that they also feel the same in allowing us to tell it in such a meaningful way. You just don't expect it as an actor. That's the thing. No. These roles don't come up very often where you can tell such a historical kind of heavy story and really try and do it some kind of justice.
Yeah, it's what's nice is that everybody's rooting for us. I mean, the cast as well. Everybody on the cast has come up and said, we've been waiting for this. We've wanted this. We've asked for this, and they welcomed us in, and they're cheering us on. It's been really cool to bring these stories forward for everybody to see.
Well, it's an enormous blessing, and there's so much that you just said that it's hard to even absorb it. So I'll leave it at that. But I'll tell you a funny story at the risk of being completely insensitive and changing the subject. But I'm a preacher's kid. My dad is a Presbyterian minister, and when I was about Cooper's age, I was obsessed with Donny Osmond. And I was doing like a social studies project because I was sure that I was going to marry him.
Of course.
So I literally contacted Mormon missionaries and had them come into the house to share the religion that would be my future because I was going to marry Donny Osmond. And so I have my mom was out of her mind, as you can imagine. And my dad, the minister, was the one who said, let her work it out. Let her work it out. Yep. So just one piece of your little puzzle of your incredible complex storyline this year. It touched me because I've seen that happen in ministers' families, and you have to deal with this, you're in a fishbowl, the whole town is watching your kid, and your kid's going to work some stuff out. And Cooper obviously has much more serious things to work out than my Donny Osmond thing, but I really love the dynamic between the two of you, and it's just been a joy to watch. So thank you for that important conversation that you're leading, and thank you for letting me do that silly tangent.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yes. As always.
Well, speaking of families, Viv, I would love to know, I'm a homeschool mom. I have 3 girls, and I get asked this question a lot, and I bet you have too, how you could be with your kids that often and that long, and what kind of boundaries you have to set. And just can you tell us a little bit about what it's like working with your kids?
It's interesting. My dad not too long ago told me that he always thought I was going to follow him and do the same thing that he did. He was a pipe fitter for his whole career, and and part of me was like, did you know me when I was 8 years old? Because I've been like entertaining people since I was a kid. So it's kind of like, really? You thought I was going to fall? No, I was always going to be an entertainer. And my father actually should have been an entertainer. He's a very amazing singer and dancer and a comedian. And so he was talking about something that I didn't realize that I was going to get to see. He was talking about me following him into the family business kind of thing. And there was a want that he had to see that happen. And I didn't understand that until I watched my 2 kids on set playing my kids, and I got it. I was like, oh man, like it is the proudest I've ever been of my kids, just watching them do this thing that, to be honest, not a lot of people can do. It's definitely not something, when you meet actors, actors are a particular type of human being, and you might not get a kid that wants to do what you do, which is fine. And I was always fine with that. If they didn't want to act, it wasn't anything that I was going to push them to do. But the fact that they could show up and do it, I got what my dad was saying. And so it is my favorite gig is this one, because I get to act alongside my kids. We get along really well. It's a funny household. Natasha will tell you, because we've adopted her. So it's a lot of fun in our household. And if you hear my kids talking, they sound like I will crack jokes and I will quote movies and TV shows, and my kids do the same thing. And it's all kind of really standing out to me now that they're doing it, that they're all 3 of them are acting actually.
All 3 now. Wow.
3, yes. My boy Lennox, he did his first indie movie, one of the leads of an indie movie, and man, he this kid in this movie, he had to have a kissing scene. And he hasn't kissed anybody in real life, but he's kissing somebody in this movie. And I was just like, what is happening? What am I even seeing? Like, what's going on? Yeah. So just the fact that they like to do it and they're having fun. And I get to be together with my kids while I'm working. They have if they want a career, if they want to do this, they can do this. They can follow this, and it's been like, it's just a blessing. Like I don't have any other words for it. It's not difficult in that, I get to spend more time with my kids. I'm not upset about that at all. It's daunting. Like I said, she saw the burnout, but at the end of the day, it's just the fact that they like to be there. That makes me happy. So it's, and my wife Davina is on set as well. It's not they don't just leave it up to me to like manage the kids all the time. My wife is there, and so it's like it's a family affair. It's a lot of fun. I've spoken too much.
I completely agree. I echo that as well. I love it.
Yeah.
We have a question from Patricia Shockey from Beaufort, South Carolina, and she wonders, will Minnie buy the cafe this season? It sounds too as though Joseph is supporting the sawmill and he may want to gain a stake in it. So what can you tell us?
Well,
Minnie.
Will Minnie buy the cafe? Should she buy the cafe is the question. Do people feel like she should buy the cafe?
Yeah.
I mean, she definitely needs something to, after homeschooling Angela, and now Angela's at school, and I think she wants to find her own way, doing something.
I think so too.
So, but should it be at the cafe? Will it be at the cafe?
I don't know.
Teasing us.
Okay, well,
the sawmill. Joseph is he's got a kind of an investor's mindset. He's seeing that there are places that if you put your money into it, you probably don't have to work as hard for as long. So yeah, he's always looking for some opportunities. We'll see what he does. That was a good answer.
It was the answer that didn't really give us an answer, but it was great.
So good.
Okay, so John Tinker said this week how cool it was to see Hallmark devote an entire trailer to the Canfields. And it was teasing the scene with Mr. Landis coming to your house for dinner. Without spoiling the whole thing, what can you kind of tell us about it?
I can tell you that Mr. Landis comes to our house
for dinner.
Fantastic.
Comes to dinner, and there's
dinner.
There's food. Exactly. There is dinner.
Yes.
The kids are there.
The kids are there.
We're both there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Hey.
Was the dinner good?
So the dinner is amazing.
Who ate the dinner?
Yeah.
Did everyone eat the dinner?
Everybody ate the dinner.
Did they?
Hi. Are you going to tell us what was for dinner?
What was for dinner? We need to know.
Wait, we had chicken and mashed potatoes.
Yes,
I remember that.
Yes.
I remember that.
Keeping with the mashed potato theme of the season, since we know all that ice cream was mashed potatoes.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a leftover fake ice cream. That's really good.
Clearly, you guys have done this before and are not going to give us anything.
No, not at all. No, but we can't thank you guys enough for how much you interact with the Hearties. It means the world to us. I mean, you guys are so active on social media, Twitter, Instagram, all of that. And it just makes the the Hearties day when they get a reply or a retweet or something like that. It just, we hear about it over the Facebook page a lot.
It's very cool. The most supportive fan base I've ever seen. Like, the interactive and so much goodwill towards us. You know, they send out really sweet messages. It's
just even from the trailer this week, reading some of the messages, and you know, it's just so great that they feel so dedicated to actually really write a full, honest thought. You know, it's not just like, oh, great, see you on Sunday. You know, they actually share what they truly feel and truly think, and that for us is, I can't even find the words to explain it, because it's kind of a little bit overwhelming, but in the best way possible. And you just couldn't ask for a better fan base when you're telling such a complex story that you yourself are concerning yourself with.
Yeah.
And then you just get all this appreciation in return. It's,
you want to know you're doing it right. And people have shared such amazing stories and, you know, really personal stories with us, just telling, you know, us about how these scenes impacted them or things that they've been through themselves. And man, I just find it's a privileged position that we're in to be able to interact with a fan base that's so supportive. You don't often get that, you know, and we love doing it. We love chatting. If I could literally like chat with everybody, I would do it. It's just there's not enough time in the day to you know other stuff that we're doing in this life. But if I could, I would. I would. I can't type fast enough. This one can type fast enough. I can't do it.
Well, the Hearties have been waiting a long time for your family to come to town, and we are so blessed that you guys are the ones that got the jobs, and you've done such an amazing job telling such a complicated story.
Thank you.
It's been a huge blessing.
Thank you. Thank you guys, for real. Like, honestly, this is the thing that we, it's nice to know we have this and we can interact. This is, you know, you don't get this. a lot of shows, this doesn't happen. So this is very cool.
On, I think it was Paul Green and Dan Lissing were talking about the Hearties, and he was just saying, they are organized. And I think that we're not only passionate, we're organized. So it's a lot of volunteers here who are making this happen and that have brought the Hearties family reunion to the Hearties. But in the absence of that, Heart to Heart is kind of to try to help expose you all to the Hearties and create a little bit more interaction. So thank you.
Love it.
Yes, we really do.
Yeah. Love it. Can't wait till we can all see each other in person. That's gonna be
beautiful. Even better.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun.
Well, we thank you, Hearties, for joining us for today on Heart to Heart, and we can't wait to see you on Twitter next Sunday using the hashtag Hearties. I threw them for a loop there, and of course, tuning in to When Calls the Heart at 8 p.m. on the Hallmark Channel.
Thanks, Hearties.